Good evening, guys. Welcome to an evening video. Apologies for the poor light, but the quality of content shared today is hopefully going to make up for any visual discrepancies. I want to share probably the most important lesson that I've ever learned as a young man. The kind of thing that has freed me, and not just for young men, for young women, and generally even older adults, the thing that will free them too. So, I want to start off by sharing a little bit about my backstory, and then all will become clear. Around about 2 months ago, and I've made enough videos documenting this, probably about 3 months ago now, I realised that I didn't have much money, right? I spent all my money on 2 cars, long story. Was it necessary? No. But I feel like it was the kind of thing that I needed to do. People might call me stupid for it. It's helped me to advance a lot. I learnt the lesson in life that you are always fallible. You can always lose what you've got. You can always find yourself in a bad position. Up until that point, I always had a lot of money, comparative to my peers. I was always doing okay, right? I've run my online businesses for years now, and it's always helped me to get by. But then again, I found myself in a position where, as an adult, you have a car, the car breaks, buy another car. It was too expensive to fix the other one, it wasn't worth it basically. And then you realise, oh, this is adult life, right? Now, drawing this into a lot of the content that we've been making on the cost of living crisis recently, right? It all kind of relates, because a lot of you guys will be in the position that I was in a couple of months ago. A lot of you guys probably don't have much money to your name, right? Because it's a funny thing, those who have money generally don't complain about money, because they're actually getting it. It's those who don't have money who think that they need to have money, and they complain about money. And money generally plays a larger part in their lives. A lot of these people don't have money that complain. And here is part of the problem. Because a lot of these people are in a cycle where they will not get money and they will always feel this trap. 2 months ago, when I had no money, I felt like the world was very unfair, right? Even though I'd made a lot of money myself online in different ways over the years, I felt like I was in a place where adult life was very unfair. And it is. But here's the thing about it. As unfair as it is rigged. It's rigged to those willing to make the effort. And the sooner I learnt this, the better I did. As soon as I learnt that life was rigged to those who put an effort in, and as soon as I crucially learnt that the feeling that I felt at that time, I never wanted to feel again, right? I was changed forever. As soon as I realised that, I had to consult the kind of book of knowledge, mental knowledge that I had in my head. The phrase beggars can't be choosers is one that I've used before on the channel, and it related to how I was in that position. You see, I wanted a place where I could afford nice things, nice experiences, but I didn't have the resources to do so. I wanted high-paying jobs and skills, but I didn't put the time and effort in. And for a lot of you guys, that is probably true too. And I know what you're thinking. I do a 9 to 5, I get money, but do you really get money, right? I'm going to make it completely known. I do not do a 9 to 5, right? But in the past 2 months, and I know 2 months does not sound like a long point, but this is actually my point, right? In the past 2 months, I have done everything I could to never feel like this again. I picked up every shift that was going at work. eBay, Amazon, selling stuff, YouTube videos. Look, I'm pumping out like 4 or 5 YouTube videos a day every day, right? I was listing, and I am listing, 50 items a day on eBay. And my eBay sales are now getting to a point where we're very often seeing high hundreds, if not low thousands of pounds in sales. Work. I don't want to give too much away about my wages, but I've seen my pay for the upcoming month, and you know what? That's a nice little bonus. I've never made more. Like, a lot I've made. And here's the funny thing, right? When you have enough money in your account, and I would give a set number. I can give a set number for myself, but there's no point because this is not just all about me. When you have a set number in your account where you know you're fine, your opinions change, and they can change. I don't know what you guys' living costs are, but let's say this. Generally, when you've got 10, 15, 20,000 pounds in the bank in cash or investments, but mainly cash because then it's easily accessible, right? You're laughing. When I had nothing, I was worried. I didn't think I'd be able to pay for any unforeseen bills. I didn't think I'd be able to pay for any breakdowns on the car, etc. Trips that I wanted to go on. When you're broke, life is stressful. As soon as you've got that 10, 15, 20 grand, 25 grand, life is now yours a lot more. So now I've gotten to the point where I have that level of money, right? Very quickly. I've now been able to, not entirely, but claim back a massive portion of my life. And let me explain what I mean by that. So for me, I don't just rely on savings, right? As I've said, I've also built an online business that is making me, it's hard to say with any degree of certainty, but I'd like to hope, and this is not like some fairy dust, I'm seeing the results, right? If I was to extrapolate the figures that I've seen over the past couple of months since I've been putting the effort in, I've got an online business that realistically makes me between £24,000 and £50,000 profit a year. I'm putting that effort into building that business, putting that effort into getting my savings up, and again, disappearing in a way. Because I said this, I disappeared for a long time, and I still am in a disappearing phase. I don't want to, reappear for another month or 2 or 3. Friends, I'm not hanging out with many friends, right? Girls, not got really much time for any girls, unless they're really on the grind. These are sacrifices that you have to make. I've got friends. I've got a lot of meaningful relationships in my life, but not right now. Because here's the thing that I learned, and I'm not saying this is some sort of a brag, but it's the thing that a lot of you guys need to learn too. Without money, you don't have a choice. And I learned quickly, if I don't get the money up fast, I'm trapped in a 9-to-5 forever. And again, beggars can't be choosers. If you need to pay the bills constantly, you can't escape a 9-to-5. Now that I've been able to save up, again, realistically in my account between £10,000 and £20,000, I don't necessarily have the number fully or need to disclose it here. I've got money coming in and out all the time. But here's the thing, my bills are paid, right? My rent's paid for the next year. My car insurance is paid. Any breakdowns that happen in the car or any unforeseen costs can be covered. So a lot of stress is gone. Now you've got the choice, potentially, to quit the job. This is me. Because obviously, on top of that, I've got an extra £2,000 to £4,000 a month profit coming in online. So that allows me to claim back, 20, 30, 40 hours of my week, right? Now, yes, am I still going to have to put in the same amount of hours listing and finding new business ideas and making content? Yeah, I am. But those hours, number one, are more profitable. That's just the end fact, right? They're more fun as well. They're also easier. But they have more of a meaning on my life. You see, a lot of these people, they want to make big moves in life. They want to beat the cost of living crisis, or they claim that they do, but they don't really. Because what I've just seen in the past 2 months is the easiest escape that you ever could imagine. And I know a lot of these people would like to say, well, that's not realistic, or it's all well and good for you who's got an online business established. Here's the fact of the matter that a lot of you aren't going to like, right? And I know this is harsh, I know this is brutal, but it's true. A lot of you guys have never had an experience where you've had money. Me, even at age 21, right? Yeah, I grew up in a broke family, to be honest. But through my own merit, online work, businesses, I had an experience where I'd had money. I knew how it felt to have 10, 15, 20, 30, 40,000 pounds in the bank. And for the first time in years, at that time, I was experiencing what it felt like to have zero. When you have 40 grand in the bank, a lot of your worries are gone, right? Yeah, friends, relationships, I don't know, the weather, all a concern. But if you had £100,000 right now, the cost of living crisis would probably not be as big of an issue. If you had £100,000 right now, you know what you'd have? You'd have choice. You see, when I had no money in my account just a couple of months ago, I had no choice. I could have waited it out and tried my online businesses, and with hindsight, that would have worked. But you know what? With the money that I've made from the job in 2 months, I'd have been, £2,000-4,000 worse off by not working. So I don't regret it. But the point is this. A lot of you guys don't have an online business, or you're preying on an online business to start off. I had an established online business, but even then, I had to, in a way, for my own self, get the job for the assurity of having an extra £2,000, £3,000 coming in as well. I had to take that. And again, now, if my online businesses carry on as they are and keep growing as they are, profits of, again, between, at the very, very minimum, £1,500 and £5,000 a month are not unforeseeable, right? Now you've got a lot more choice because you've got a business that can be moved about. I could do whatever, right? And if I had 100k, even better. If I had 100k, 200k, let's say 200, let's say 150, I can think about buying properties here in the UK. I can think about buying properties abroad. Those properties I can use as investments or a place to live to reduce my costs. The 150k could get me set up in a country like Thailand or, I don't know, Paraguay or even Dubai. Because a lot of you guys, and I don't say this to hate on anybody, I'm just bringing awareness to a simple fact. A lot of you guys are after an escape in life, but you don't understand what needs to be done to make it happen. Now, like I say, I chose both the physically hard choice and the mentally challenging choice, in the sense that the physically hard choice was going to work every day, right? The mentally hard choice was basically taking a risk on a business. So I did both at the same time. But a lot of people out there, they're not really pushing themselves. If you had 80 to 100k in cash or more, things will be very different. And then we get into the topic of, well, I don't know how to make that much money. Sure you do, right? Of course you do. Now here's the thing, right? I never said it was going to be any fun. I never said it was going to be any fun at all. And I don't want to make this deep and, like moody or depressive. But there was times in the past month where I really hated everything that I was doing. The past 2 months as well. I really hated everything that I was doing. I hated waking up at 6 a.m. to go to work, sat in traffic all day. It was one of the worst feelings I've ever felt. Your body's in pain. Clocking off at what? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m. I didn't enjoy that. There was days where, and I know it sounds very mild in comparison, but I'm saying I did both, right? There was days where my eyes were killing. My brain was aching because of the amount of time you spend on a computer, right? You've got to solve mathematical tasks, process spreadsheets, do taxes, etc. And this is the thing, right? I hated everything that I was doing, but my life was not very meaningful otherwise. The car that I was driving I could not afford if it broke down. The rent for the place that I was paying for, again, fortunately for me, had paid it in advance, and it's still in advance for the next 8 months. But if I hadn't have done that, I would not be able to afford to live anywhere, right? I had enough money for the bare basics, and that was it. So I didn't enjoy what I was doing, but I didn't enjoy the condition of my life at that time. And here's the thing: if you really hate or dislike the way that you're living, a month, 2 months, 3, 4 months of stress, misery, torture does not matter. Because now you know what's happened very, very quickly. And this is not a point of bragging, right? I know when I make these videos, I don't know if you guys like hearing personal success stories of mine, or I don't know if it sounds like I'm bragging and this is an unobtainable goal, but let me tell you, you can make this happen as well. But let me explain the feelings that I have right now, right? 2 months ago, it was all stress, it was all pressure. Who knows what's going to happen with my future? Am I going to make enough money? I'm never going to let that happen again. Right now, I've got choices. I've got enough money that my bills will be paid for the next year. Realistically, again, a lot of them are already paid off, but even then, right, when my rent needs paying again, I can pay it off for the next year like that. Car insurance, pay it off like that. Whatever. Breakdowns of the car, repairs, pay it off like that. Anything that you need is paid. So now I've got choices, right? And I've got an income as well online. So in theory, I can already quit the job. I'm not saying I will. I'm not saying I would. I'm not saying I should. That's a personal choice for me. Whether it's right or wrong, I will decide, because I am genuinely enjoying this journey of life and embracing it in the way that I see fit, right? And people call me wrong for that. People call me right for that. I'm doing what works for me, and it's clearly working. So here's the thing. I had no choices back then, and everything was a stress. Now I can choose to quit the job. I can spend, half of my week traveling or relaxing, because I've built an online business in that time. It's a hard work, a stress that is now paying off, right? And all the rest of the money can go into savings. So you get a lot of savings, then you can take back some of your time. Again, maybe you can work less, maybe you can work part-time, maybe you don't have to work at all. Then from there, everything becomes more open. And what I mean by that is this. When you're fighting to survive, you're never getting ahead. You're never going to get out of that. when there's not enough money to cover the bills after the end of the month, or if you're in the negative, you're never going to get past that because you're always fighting just for the basic day-to-day. When you are in a position where it's a bit different and you have cash on hand and all of your bills are covered, the money that I need for my bills, again, realistically, is between £10,000 and £20,000. That can just go into a savings account and it gets pulled out as and when. Then I can have another savings account with genuine spends in it. Everything else can be considered spending or investing money. And I don't mean, when I say spending, wasting money on a fancy new car or going on holidays, right? This is money that can go to investments, stock market, I don't know, whatever you want to invest in. New assets for the business, new businesses themselves. And here's the thing about the money game. Yeah, the money game is unfair. I don't make the rules of that. I don't necessarily like that fact. I don't like that the money game's unfair, but you know what the beautiful advantage of it is? It's still a game that you can win. Now, it's a famous quote from Donald Trump. His dad gave him a small loan of $1 million, I believe it was. That's not a luxury that we all have. It's not a luxury that I had. Would have never happened for me. And I think as a younger person myself, in the past, there's a tendency to moan about that. There's a tendency to see the world as rigged and no way out of that. The way out of that is going to be tough. And again, everyone should do what they want, but here's the thing. A year of work. I don't know if it's a year for you. People might say, well, why have you not done a year of work? Because I'm not working to the same goals that you are. Again, I have an online income. I had an online income that all I needed to do was just double down and work harder on it. I knew that at the time. So for me, 2-3 months of working a job, saving up a lot of cash, building a business. Now I've got choices again. A lot of you guys don't have choices. And again, the money game's not fair, but that's not something that we can do anything about. If you don't like your life right now anyway, well, you've got nothing to lose, have you? If it's looking like a 40-year future of something that you hate, you're already in the worst position. Every single day of the past 2 months, I've had some kind of feeling either in the back or the forefront of my mind. On non-work days, it was knowing that there's work tomorrow or the next day. On non-work days, it was knowing that I had to avoid spending time with friends and family that wanted to hang out and do fun stuff. I had money to make. I had to make money. But again, when you start to get that money, then the world opens up to you. Now, and I'm not fully there now, but looking forwards, let's say, at this pace, if I can make £5,000 online, or £5,000 online and in a job, which, by the way, is not very undoable at all, that will require a lot more hard work on both ends, a lot of working online, and I'm going to put the most emphasis on that because it is the most profitable, to be honest. But here's the thing. If I can save, 2, 4, 5 grand a month, save into straight savings, you build choice. You build genuine choice. If you can put that money into savings, you can start to actually think about moving abroad and investing. You can start to actually think about the things that you couldn't have before. Because a lot of these people, and I hate to say it, but they're beggars and they want to be choosers. They are the people who want to have a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a house, whatever. And yeah, maybe it was true. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was true that this was affordable 40, 50 years ago for your average person working a 9 to 5. Again, the game may be rigged. The game may be against us, but we don't make the rules. We can at least embrace the game for what it is. And here's the thing. In today's market, if you can actually do the hard stuff for a month, 2 months, a year, think about it. If you worked full time, and I say work because most people have a job, not a business. If you can work in your job full time, even if it's minimum wage, and you can do 60 hours a week, 80 hours a week for 1 week, 2 weeks, a month, how much more ahead will you be than where you are now? And am I saying that's easy? No, it is not easy at all. I've experienced it. It's hard. But if you can do that for 1 month, you'll make, between 50 and 100% more than you would in a regular month. Now you can put money into savings. Now you're not chasing the bills constantly. If you can do it through a business or investments, even better. But just like me, I know a lot of you guys are starting from the ground up. And here's the thing. We all want the nice stuff. We're conditioned to want it. We're told to want it. We're programmed to want it. The reality of life is not a fair game. There are people who get supercars given from their rich parents. That's not us, right? But you know what we do have? We have a number of skills to our advantage. And one of them, I would say, the biggest one actually, is drive. Now, the reason why I think a lot of people are not driven in the way that we'd expect is because they don't know what real drive should look like. And real drive is taking 6 months to a year, maybe 2, to just sit back and have a think. So am I saying that I've got it all figured out? No. But what I can say now, hand on heart with certainty, is any bills that come up realistically can be paid, right? Any costs can be covered. It wasn't nice feeling broke. Now having a lot more money available, life becomes a lot easier. Now you can start to think about what you would do with your free time because you're not working all the time. Now you can start to think about where you should invest because you've got spare money. Now you can start to all of these different things. I don't want to repeat myself, and I know that we're already on 21 minutes, so I'm not trying to make like a big rant here. I'm not saying that I'm amazing, but my point is this: a lot of the videos that I make, they're not intended to belittle anyone or even big up myself. I just want to share the lessons that I've learned, and one of them is the big mistake of expecting everything for nothing. The world's not like it was in the past, and if a 9-to-5 job's what you want to do, fair enough, but for a lot of people it's not the only thing that they need to get ahead. You're going to need determination, good work ethic, whether that is online or in the real world, or both. And again, we talk about moving to cheaper countries. Well, with what, right? You're still going to need to establish some sort of an online income or vast amounts of savings. If you don't have that, then you can't do it. So again, a lot of these people talk ideals, and I understand why, because I've been there myself. It's easier than acknowledging the fact and actually doing the work like I've done for the past couple of months. But when you can actually acknowledge the facts and put the work in, you can quickly get choices. Again, like I say, in the past, realistically 2 months or whatever, yes, partially due to selling stuff, not just online, but like old things of mine and etc. I've been probably averaging about £5,000 profit a month. And that's, again, not necessarily all replicable. Some of it's been selling old stuff and, not spending on this or that. If I could do that for a year, which I can, I'd be laughing. Again, we'll say that some costs can pop up, but how much would I have in savings at the end of the year? 20,000, 40,000, 50,000, 100,000? Then you can think about getting a property to invest in or somewhere to live for yourself. Then you can think about traveling the world. Then you can think about building up an investment portfolio of something. Then you can think about quitting your job for a year or 2 and spending all of your 40 hours or more focusing on building an online business. Because I will acknowledge, for a lot of people, having an online business is not a privilege that they have the time to discover. But at the same time, what do you want and how hard are you willing to work for it? I don't mean this video to be patronising at all, because I'm sure there's people older than me watching, and I'm sure there's people working harder than me, but look, I'm just explaining what I've learnt, right? There's better people watching than me. I never said that there wasn't, but at the same time, they have every right to build a YouTube channel of their own. My point is simply this. In the past year, I've been fortunate enough, and everything's a blessing. If you learn from it, everything is a blessing. So I've been lucky enough to be broke. I've been lucky enough to have enough money to live. I've been lucky enough to have enough money to live well. I've been lucky enough to have an income that I'm building, and you know what? I know which one I'd pick every day. So was the 2 to 4 months that I've experienced and I'm experiencing difficult? Yeah, honestly, it was. There was a lot of time that I spent, again, not hanging out with anyone. Spent alone. Spent avoiding people that I wanted to hang out with. A lot of relationships suffered for it. But you know what I realised? And maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. So far it feels right. If this is what I can do to get ahead for the next year or 2, I could be set forever. And some people might say that's a bit naive, but think about it realistically. I don't need a long-term business reselling or dropshipping, right? Realistically. If I can do the profit numbers that I've done for the past month or 2 for the next year or 5, even the next 1 year, right? That's a lot of money to invest. That could be a down payment on a house. It could be potentially buying a house outright. Then your options open up. And again, not to make a really long video, even though I already have done, the work that you put in at this early stage, I'm realising now, is not going to need to be the long-term goal or the long-term level. Build up 100k and options start to open. And I know that's not a lot of money, but I always use the old example of returns. People say that they want a steady return. Let's say your investment makes 10%. If you've got £100 in the bank or $100, 10% is nothing on $100, £100. If you've got 100,000, we're actually starting to get to real money now, right? Make a 20% return on that, and 25%, let's say, you're beating, or at least averaging, a decent salary in the UK, a relatively okay salary. And that's just from your return on investments. Now, what investments make 25% return? That's the £25,000 question. But a lot of you guys are going to get this point, right? Well, this is what I'm saying. A lot of young people right now, they're afraid to do the work. I understand why, because I've been there. It's not fun to do the work. It's actually horrible. Again, I think that the dynamic of the work that I'm going to do is going to change simply because it can, right? I can spend less time working the job and more time building more money online. And why wouldn't you pick that option? It's more profitable and it's easier. And if you ever need another job, the kind of job that I'm doing, I can get a better. And I've been offered a better job, longer hours, even longer hours, but better pay, slightly more enjoyable. I could get that like that, easy. But yet again, these are the choices that I didn't have when I didn't have money, which is why I had to get the job that I had, and also they're the choices that you possibly or probably don't have. So if you get out of the first initial problem, maybe get up about 10, 15,000, 25, 30,000 even, maybe even 40, 50. Watch how the choices and opportunities quickly start to open up.